My name is Chris Slaney, and it might give you some background about myself. Um, I was not a person who believed in the psychic world for many, many years, but my mother always seemed like she had a third eye. I mean, no matter what, she'd always say either this would work or that would not work or whatever. And I always thought that she had a connection, just, I don't know what you think as a child when your mother tells you things and you believe it and you go forward with it. Uh, it was many, many years later, when I was coming to the USF here, that I had saw that the psychic school here was available, and I had come in and it caught my attention. And because I had some dreams myself and some intuition, and I guess you would call me an intuitive as I learned myself about my gifts that I have. So anyway, I came to the school, and they taught me how to utilize the tarot cards as a tool to express on how I feel. It gives me a way to say, this is the story I present to you. And, and from that I am more capable of explaining it and understanding it myself. Though even though I've been doing it for over 6 years now, I still don't believe 90% of what I tell people because it seems like it's impossible. Like I'm about to say something, but as soon as I say it, the person goes, "Oh yeah, that's right," and it's like, how's that even possible? So I was a doubting Thomas for many years until about 6 years ago, and I started utilizing tarot cards. So that kind of gives you some idea of what my background is and where I'm going with it, and I'm still exploring it. So if I was to give you a reading, I would utilize those tarot cards, and I've got to keep reminding myself. And most of these tarot card readers will do the same. It's like, they have to keep reminding themselves, like, it's not about me, it's about you guys, right? So I mean, you really can't try to. I'll give you an example. I gave a reading yesterday, right? And I thought, none of this could fit. And the lady just kept going. And by the time I was done, she goes, wow, you hit everything that I was thinking about. Because I don't know how to fit it into your life. Less I know about somebody, like if you came to get a reading today, I don't want to know, I don't want to know anything about you, because more I get to know you, more I'd want to put my own thoughts into it. Like, oh, they want a new house or they want a new car. So I'm going to try and make these cards explain that. And that is a terrible place to be. If you know, I mean, and it's nice to get to know you, and I do get to know my clients, but the less I know about you, the better, because then you can apply whatever I say to your life. Or you could just say, none of this fits, and this guy's crazy, and I've had that happen, and that's a real realistic thing, and so there's many types of tarot cards. There's angel cards. There's a Rider-Waite is the most famous. I use a Finestra. They started back in Milan, Italy, back in the 1400s. So they've been quite a few years with people to be utilized like that. The one way, and I'll just explain, I usually have a PowerPoint. It's very difficult to explain about cards if you have examples. I brought some examples in, and talking about my Finestra, and I'll just pass these out if you want to pass it around as you go for a few minutes. Each one of these cards are, if you want to pass that around like that, each one of these cards kind of tell a story. And what I do is I'll sit down. If I was to give you a reading today, let's pretend I'm giving everybody a reading at one time, right? So I would introduce myself like what I just did. I would tell you my gift like I just did. And then I would say, please give me your aura. And I don't really say that in a verbalization. I will just say, let me, if like you get, you know when somebody does this, or they just don't believe, or they're just tell me what you want to tell me and be over with it, or whatever, or they just have that closed off feeling, or they're accepted to it, like, hi, how are you today? You get that aura, you get that feeling, and it's like, more you can, so when you get in your reading, so this is about your reading, right? So more and more that you can put in your personal energy into that reading, to say, well, you know what, let me, I'm excited about this. I want to hear what the universe has to say, because I can guarantee you when you get my readings, I don't do a thing. I really don't, except for one thing, my intuitiveness. And that's the biggest thing, and I get that from you guys, your personalities, your aura. I don't try to, like I said, the less I know about you, the better, but the aura really speaks out. Are you out, like, an aura is what? What's an aura? Your energy, right? Whether you have a lot of energy and so forth. So what I would do is you'd be sitting down at the table, and I would say, okay, would you pick out 6 cards? More I can interact with you and say, please pick out your energy. Like, I'm letting you, you ever heard of the old saying, cut your own throat? Well, that's exactly what I do. And when I let you pick out my cards, I used to go to psychics that would pick out the cards and they read them out and they just flip them out or whatever the case is, and you got what you got. Or they let you cut them or whatnot. I try to get as much energy from the person as I can. And from that, I try to decipher, when you pick out those cards, I try to decipher what they mean, how I get the feeling for it. And that's all you're paying me for. That's all I'm doing, really, is that I'm trying to give you what I see. And how that applies to your life, I don't know how it applies. It may never apply. But that's the best I know how to do. And that's all you can do is, because what? You're getting my intuitiveness. Let me ask you this question. If a person walks up to you and said, oh, it's a wonderful day, how would you interpret that? Did he just hit the lotto? Did he just heard the doctor say that he doesn't have cancer? How do you measure a good day? And that's what you're paying, that's what I like to do. It's like, wow, I get a good feeling here. This person really has, something good to, really having a good day. They need to go buy a lotto ticket. And, and I sense those days. And hopefully you do too. When you have a good day, when you get up on that right side of the bed, you know it. And you just want to roll with it. So anyway, that's the kind of energy that I look for. So when you pick out 6 cards, I'll usually offer, I do an astro reading. Some people do Celtic reading, some does 5-card reading, depending how much time. I have a party coming up, and I have like 200 people I have to do. So, I know I have to move fast. Like 5-minute readings are too long, right? So, I try to, but whatever cards they pull, whether it's 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, 5, I normally like to do 6. 6 because I don't really see that far in the future, guys. I have a short, I would say that if I get a feeling about something, it's going to happen fairly soon. It's not like it's going to happen over 6 months from now or something. It's usually like, it's going to happen soon. So whatever I tell you, like, you know what, I think you might want to do something. Don't wait on it. Do it. So that's my intuitiveness. So anyway, you would pick out 6 cards. I would look at those 6 cards, and I would try to tell you what I feel in each of those cards and how they connect with each other. Does it matter to me whether it fits your life or not? That's the universe. That was your aura picking those cards. So when you sit down with your psychic and you say, I like to get involved in it, if they sit there and not get you involved in their psychic readings, and I've seen a lot of psychics do that, they won't even ask, not that they have to ask you questions or get a feeling, but just say like, just project yourself. Do you know what that means by projecting yourself? Stand, maybe sit closer on the seat. Maybe, try to touch the table or something. Try to get your aura into it. And if, a lot of times psychics will use like stones, crystals. If you don't see them using that, maybe, they're not believing as much as they should be. I use a pendulum sometimes. I don't know if you guys know what a pendulum is, but sometimes I'll use that because some people really, some people have real questions and real concerns in their lives. And, and as much as this, I want to think this is entertainment, right? This is all entertainment. Is it? I don't know. I think it's one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. And believe me, it's kind of crazy, isn't it? Because who's going to be sitting around telling you how to live your life and how to, whether you should go out and buy a piece of property or you should make investments or you shouldn't lend money to somebody or whatever the case may be, or romance or relationships. That's pretty serious stuff. And I'm scared. I'm scared to tell anybody about that kind of stuff. So I really have to look at those cards and just say, this is what I see in the cards. This is what I see that's going to happen in your life. And I don't try to play judge. I don't try to play like, oh, how is it going to, let me say something good to make it happen. And I try not to say anything bad either. And that's one of the psychic rules that they call it ethical. If somebody, let me use an example of that. If the death card, the minor, there's a major and a minor in the cards, and then under the majors, they have like a death card or they have a power burning. It's a change of life that's going to happen. I mean, when you see something like that, I don't like to think negatively. I like to think positively. But there's certain cards that come together, and you have to really explain it. So it's just more serious. I mean, you cross that line of, oh, this is fun, I got a psychic reading today, and then it carries over to something more serious than that. So, I don't know how my time's doing, but does anybody have any questions? Okay, well, I'll just continue then. Hey, I'll tell you more experiences. Yes, yes.
Combining your readings with tarot and oracle. How do you feel about that?
And I'm not sure about the oracle aspects of it. I know that I've always been strictly tarot on my readings. So I think anything that you can add that'll help give your customer, your guest, your friend more information, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think if you're more connected to one, maybe go lead with that and maybe not lead so much with the other. I know that I've almost got to the point now where I really just, I almost sink back into tarot. I have, I try to use the stones a little bit. I try to give, that clarity, like the smoky quartz or something to clarify your cards. I don't know, maybe something that somebody might not understand, but I would absolutely say if it helps you give a better reading to somebody, yeah. I'm not really, maybe you would like to do that one because I'm more of a, I would say that oracle, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I use the tarot as my base. I use my tarot. Then I use an oracle as a complement. And depending upon what is in the cards, what I use it as, I do it intuitively. The wording I use at the very last. So whatever the tarot card is, then the oracle card helps back it up. Whereas the tarot cards have a specific definition, the oracle cards give a more gentle finesse back.
That sounds excellent. That sounds good. And I do the same with I mean, and I do like how you want to get more confirmation, because when I pull a card, like if you get a card, and a lot of people, I'll say, you're going to travel. And some people say, where am I going? They want to know where you're going. And I'll say, well, I have no clue where you're going. I mean, but they'll say, can you get a confirmation? And I'll pull another card to try. Okay, we got 2 minutes left. Thank you. So I would pull another card and say, okay, we're going, this is where, you're going over a great body of water. How definite does cards get? Really? I mean, am I going to come out with, they don't give me names, but how many people do we meet in a day? How many people do you meet in a month? But if I said to you, like in one of those cards, I don't know who has it, but there's an emperor. I'm sorry, there's not an emperor, but there's a wheel of fortune, and that means you're going to get anything you want. If I pull a wheel of fortune, a card on you, you know what I'm going to say to you? Do whatever you want. I mean, that's the first thing. If you buy a lotto ticket, do it, or buy that car, or whatever you're going to do, this is the time to do it. You get that if you get a wheel of fortune. Or if you get, I think that was the 4 cups I had passed out. That means that you're choosing, are we done? Or good? Or, okay, 30 seconds. Okay. No, 30 seconds. Okay. The world can end in 30 seconds. And so I would say to you, try to get as much as you can from your readings. And I think if you keep it in mind that it's entertainment, and then, but also there's an element of it too that can really be a blessing in your life. Like, well, what was it they say? That the more you know, the better you can live your life, the more knowledge you have. And you know what? And it's always great. I mean, how old am I, right? I always love that third perspective. Somebody else's idea of looking into my life and say, wow, have you ever thought maybe going this way? It makes all the difference. It really does. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Hang on a minute, Chris.